Hi, it's Laurel Dietz from Millennial Legal Coaching, and we're back for another divorce chat. Today, I'm here with Kate Roome, and Kate Roome is a notary in Duncan. Kate, can you tell us a little bit more about your business, how people can reach you, and I guess, yeah, so why don't we start with that?
Sounds good. So I'm a BC notary practicing in Duncan. We're located right downtown, close to the movie theater, in the Couch and Professional building. Been in practice here for almost 9 years, and our practice focuses on real estate transactions, mortgages, and personal planning like wills, estates, powers of attorney. And we also do lots of notarizations for people.
Okay, so that was going to be my first question. What types of services? So you wills, estates, powers of attorney. That's pretty. So do you do estate planning as part of that?
Yes, we do. So people come and book an appointment. We'll go through the documents that they require, the gold standard being will, power of attorney, and representation agreement, and help them make a plan around those documents, and the rest of the estate planning process, like lining up how you're holding assets, those types of activities to try and make their estates run smoothly.
Okay. And then you said mortgages. So I would say, that's probably a good way of putting it because that's what people understand. I always revert to the legalism of conveyancing, which what is that? So real estate, right?
Yeah. So buying, selling, refinancing houses, private lending, those types of activities. We're discharging old mortgages. Transferring titles for whatever reason. We do a lot of that work, including, if somebody passes away, transferring to a joint tenant. Those types of transfers.
Okay. So real estate. Okay. And then what else have I forgotten? You said notarization. So whenever you need an oath taken, like even on a passport application, do you get passport applications? Yeah,
we do. We don't get as many as you might think, because people can have anybody who has a current passport do that for them.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's actually not necessary to have it notarized, because the guarantor has to have known that person for 2 years.
See. Okay.
There's not really an option for me to say, yes, I'm a notary and this is this person. So we do get ID documents, usually from other countries, which is odd enough, but where they're looking to have the likeness confirmed.
So
then like travel letters for children, we do lots of those.
Those are important. Travel notarization. So any of our clients who are watching or people who have been through a separation, you know that if you're going to be crossing any borders with your children, even if you're not separated, if you're going with just one parent, it's a good idea to have this travel note letter. And then the notarization proves that like you've sworn it. It's a serious document. It's not just...
It's the real deal.
The real deal. Exactly. Okay. And then have I left anything off as I'm kind of breaking down with you?
So we do get lots of things like proof of life letters and things like that from other countries where they want to ensure that somebody who's getting a pension is still living. Visa invitation letters for people who are applying to have family members come and visit and they need a visa for that. So notarizations is a really broad topic. And then we also get lots of people who just have challenges with figuring out how to acquire a document or have a problem that they've inherited that they don't know what to do with. And often we're a starting point for them to figure out what else they need to do. And that keeps my day pretty interesting.
That's kind of like your easily accessed resource to gather information about kind of some of these more legal things. Something you didn't mention, I'm actually curious about. Can you notarize affidavits? And I don't mean just in family law, but throughout, you can do any kind of affidavit.
And we do get that too from, law firms for civil or sometimes criminal matters too. We'll send affidavits over, if the person who needs to swear it is in our area, they will send it to us and the person will come in and swear it here.
Okay. Because that's what sometimes when people are doing, and this is getting really into the weeds, but getting divorces and they're in a different country or something like that. They wonder like, can I get my spouse to do an affidavit from a different country? And if that different country is I guess Canada, yes.
We can take their signature. I don't prepare them for any sort of family law situation, but we can take their signature on it. Unlike separation agreements, I won't take signatures on those.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So we'll get there though. Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question though is this. So if a couple agrees to sell their house after separation and they don't have a separation agreement,
Mhm.
will you prepare those documents for sale? So I guess there's a few situations. One is they're selling to the couple, the separated couple is selling to a third party,
Yeah.
or one person of the separated couple is buying the interest from the other spouse.
Yes. So we will help them with it. Our advice is always to please get a separation agreement, because those have value when you're separating your assets, but also for lots of other reasons that people should have separation agreements. So we
Yeah.
always encourage them to do it. If we're going to assist them with either a third party sale, we can certainly assist them, but we will only release funds to the two of them.
Yeah,
So
together.
if they have an amicable separation and they have a joint account still, and they're able and willing and they understand the ramifications of that check going in that joint account, we're happy to complete their sale for them and deliver those funds to the two of them. If they have not got a separation agreement in place and they're not amicable and they're maybe still working on their separation agreement, then we will retain funds until they have got a separation agreement or a court order before we'll release it.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So that's do you get them to sign off on that? Like, do you just tell them before they go through? Yeah, you're gonna give them. We'll say
we're very upfront about that.
Yes, because otherwise there'll be a lot of significant anger, I would say, directed at you. Like, that's my money, give it to me.
Yeah. One challenge we do experience is if people don't tell us that they're separating. So we do encounter that sometimes, where we have a sale and they haven't notified us that they're separated, and they'll come in to sign together, and then they're surprised when we say we have to give you a check together, or we have to retain those funds until you've got a separation agreement or order. But if they're not forthcoming with that information, we can't be forthcoming with the information they need from us, right?
Yes.
So
I think people sometimes, like, it's funny when they go through, either they're embarrassed or they are trying to kind of keep it secret because they're like, we just want to deal with this between the two of us. But then between the start of the sale and the collection of the money, maybe there's a further breakdown between the two of them. And so then they say, oh, I don't want to come in with him because we're separating. And then you're like, oh, well, that's my first knowledge of this being a separation.
Yes, happens frequently. And we do get people who are separated who are not able to be in the same room together, and that's fine. We're able to accommodate, and we're happy to accommodate. You know, we don't have any value judgments about it. We just want to get their job done for them.
And so in that vein, do you require, this is again maybe very specific and I hope somewhat helpful, but like if someone is they're selling their house and they need to sign the land titles documents, do you need to have the original document, or can they sign it where they are and fax you or scan you a copy?
They can do that. Oh, excuse me. They can sign it where they are, but they do need to sign in front of an officer. So a lawyer, notary, commissioner. And that's fine. We can have the copy come back. And we can train on that. I like to collect the original at some point, so I usually ask that practitioner to mail it to me. But in the end of the day, we keep our records electronically anyways, so it's not the end of the world. But they do need to sign in front of a real person.
So I guess to give background is like this typically happens. I mean, Canada's a big country. You know, you separate. You have the house in BC and one spouse moves out to Nova Scotia, and it's kind of like, okay, well, how are we going to get this sold? Or we didn't think about this before when I moved out to Nova Scotia without signing any documents. And I'm not flying back for this. So just, you know, and like there is a lot of confusion about what needs to be original, what can be electronic these days, right? So, and in that, so then my next question after that was, do you notarize separation agreements, which you've kind of explained?
No, we do not. No,
we will do not. And so I will do my little spiel on this. People come to you, I would suspect, with separation agreements saying, they've drafted it up themselves. Can you just notarize this? And then you say no. Here are some lawyers who might. they call us and they say, will you just witness my signature? And I say, no. And then I say, tell us about your agreement. Oh, we've drafted it ourselves. I said, okay, well, I'm not going to notarize that in any way. Like if I give you independent legal advice on the agreement, then I might, witness your signature. The main thing being, though, you don't actually need a lawyer to sign off on your separation agreement. You can get just an adult over the age of 19 who's not your spouse to witness your signature. So typically people really do want to have, the backing of a notary or the backing of a lawyer. It's not, and that comes with a little bit more of a cost.
Yes, I think this happens with separation agreements. We also experience it with wills and powers of attorney that people have prepared themselves, and they want somehow the legitimacy of the notary seal on there, but they don't want the advice around it. And when it comes to family law matters, I can't give the advice around it because BC notaries don't practice family law. And in other matters where they want the seal but they don't want the advice, in matters that I actually practice in, that would be really irresponsible of me to stick my stamp on there without actually having that, giving that advice and doing the work that they really should be hiring a notary for.
So, well, I think that's a good question. There's all sorts of, even more so for wills, I think, there's all sorts of online programs that can help you do your own will. And I know from experience that that's just not a great idea. You don't really know what you're doing because it's actually a very complicated area of law. So with you, if someone comes in with their online will, do you say I will witness it if you can sit down with me and I'll go through it with you and explain it, what it means to you. If you still want to sign it, I'll witness your signature. Or do you just say, I'm not going to, because my advice is going to be essentially, you need me to draft your will?
The latter, usually. Because by the time I do my due diligence in learning what I need to learn to advise them about whether or not their will is going to do what they want, we may as well start from scratch. And often the form of the document that they're presenting is so incorrect that really I'm rewriting it anyways. By the time we go through it, it's like, it's silly. It's going to be actually probably less expensive to have me just prepare it from scratch.
If we just did it properly from the outset, for sure.
To try and Frankenstein something together, it just doesn't make sense.
I have the same sentiment about separation agreements and
I bet.
Okay. So back to the selling of house, because this is what the issue that we come across time and time again. Can you explain briefly? So if someone is selling, one spouse is selling their interest in their home to their spouse that's leaving, how does that very mind-numbing detail, how does that work? How exactly does this transaction, how does the sausage get made? How does that happen? That's what people get really confused about. They don't understand how everything works. How does money transfer hands? How do documents transfer hands? Who prepares what goes where? It
works really similarly to any other sale or any other purchase. So very similar pattern. We can represent one party, so either the buying or selling spouse. And presumably if we're representing, let's say we're representing the purchasing spouse, they're buying out their partner. Oftentimes that comes with a refinance or change in mortgage. So once we know that this transaction is occurring, we'll receive the separation agreement. We need that here so that we can, because there's often the calculation about the house and who's paying what, but then sometimes there's payments or debits or credits for things like vehicles or other assets that they're trying to sort through financially, and that refinance is going to pay out that other spouse for the house plus maybe other things. So we start with the separation agreement to figure out who's owed what, and then we'll receive mortgage instructions from the lender, and we learn about what the lender needs to see. We process all of that information and we provide documents to the selling spouse's representative showing the calculations of how the money will be distributed, and with the land title documents that are required. So they'll sign with that representative and get legal advice from them around what they're doing. And then on the completion day, we receive funds from the lender. We transfer the title, which we do at the land title office. And then we cut checks to the selling spouse or their legal representative, however we've been instructed to deliver those funds.
Yeah.
And deliver title to the purchasing spouse.
Yeah.
So it can be a little bit complicated depending on what the separation agreement says. Sometimes there's lots of adjustments to be made, and sometimes they're very unclear, particularly if the agreement's been made by somebody who's not a lawyer.
Yeah.
So sometimes they can be a little unclear on who's supposed to get what. And really the only time we run into real challenges, like it's a very straightforward process for the most part. The only time we really run into challenges is if one or the other spouse or both doesn't have a clear understanding of what they're supposed to receive. So if there's been some misinformation or misunderstanding about the check they're going to get,
yeah,
sometimes that can be challenging because they've already negotiated this agreement, sometimes a long time before, and either they've forgotten or they've misunderstood from the outset, or they're no longer happy with the agreement that they made. Yeah. So that tends to be the only time when we get a hiccup, is when you are saying like this is what the separation looks like. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can make people unhappy. Yeah.
So I think, and from my end, what I see people getting confused about is because they're spouses, they don't see it as like a typical sale. Like if you were buying and selling a house with a third party, people you don't know, of course you're going to go and hire your own notary, your own lawyer. Each of you gets your own. That's what people don't understand, is that they each need to go get their own notary or their own lawyer to help them do this transaction. And mostly they're just like, no, I just want to do this without, they're going to take care of everything. And then that's the confusion, is like, so spouse A says, I'm going to pay for all the transfer costs. Well, spouse B needs their own lawyer.
Yes.
And they're incurring fees too. But spouse A is thinking, well, I've paid all the transfer costs. Like the purchasing spouse tends to pay more money because they're paying the person to do most of the work. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then the selling spouse has a lower legal bill, I guess, or notary bill, because their lawyer's just essentially giving a little advice, maybe taking funds and guaranteeing that the money is on its way before passing over the documents, signing over their life. So there's like deals, and there's a way it all goes. But I think that's like, I think if people can know, okay, we've agreed, spouse A is going to buy the house from spouse B, then we both need to go get our own people. And if spouse A or spouse B is agreed to pay for the transfer, then that's an adjustment that maybe needs to be done between the couple after you figure out how much each of your lawyers cost.
Yeah.
Or a little reimbursement or something, or an equalization if you're going to share the transfer costs.
Yeah. And I think too, it's important that they understand what's meant by conveyancing fees or transfer costs. Right? Because sometimes I think they're not, as you said, they're not aware that the selling spouse needs to have advice too, and that the purchasing spouse may be paying for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so thank you for going through that, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so typically how much time does it take to complete a real estate transaction? So if you've got the financing all ready to go, or that someone's arranged with their bank or their lender to do it, and they've got their separation agreement. In your separation agreements, we often say within 30 days. Like, is that a realistic time frame? Can you do it within a day, within a week? What does that look like?
Ideally, in our dream world, we always have all of the instructions for something 10 business days before it happens. Okay. That often isn't what happens, but it makes it easier on us to do it that way. It makes it easier on all the other parties involved. So one of the things that people maybe don't understand is that sometimes lenders are slow to give us instruction. And then once we have all the instruction, sometimes there's requirements that we need to fulfill that take a bit of time. And a really good example of that is an insurance binder that we need to receive from your insurance company. And sometimes we get those, 1 or 2 days. Sometimes we have to request it 7 or 8 times over the course of the week before we get it. So having that time to, especially, you know, if it's a strata property, there's additional documents we need to get from somewhere. So ideally we have that 10 days. We do see separation agreements where the practitioner or the person who's done it themselves has said, we're going to complete this transaction in 10 business days after the separation agreement's been signed, which doesn't usually get to us until about 3 days before it's supposed to have taken place, and the lender's scrabbling too, because that's not enough time. And the lenders need time with that separation agreement to prepare the mortgage too, right? So 30 days is reasonable. I don't think there's any real benefit to trying to do it faster than that.
No.
You know, I know people have sometimes pressures to be quick, but I don't think it's in anyone's best interest to hurry important transactions.
Yeah, and for sure, you want all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. I can support you in that. Okay, so that's actually really good information to have. So give yourself at least 10 business days, ideally more. So you get that separation agreement signed. Next thing you should be doing is be on the phone to Kate to get that house transferred into your name or out of your name, whatever it is. Okay, so I've really enjoyed our chat so far. Is there anything you'd like people to know about your business or you, or how to contact? I guess that would be one of the questions. The best way, again, to contact you.
Yeah, so we are on Facebook. We're online. We have a good website, duncannotary.ca. It'll lead you right to our door. We've got good instructions there. It's constantly updated with any changes to business hours or holidays or things like that. I think, you know, my main goal is to run a business that serves my community, and hopefully in a way that my clients appreciate. And I've got a great team. We've got a nice office. It's an easy place to do business, I think, and that's the feedback I tend to get from clients. And
yes,
always happy to hear it.
Well, I've been to your office, and it is a bright, cheery place to be. So that's very nice. I've always enjoyed having to working with you on files and getting stuff done. I can always, if anybody's unfamiliar with Kate, I'd be surprised if you live in an area, because you're such a kind of a pillar of the community there.
Well, that's very flattering. Thank you.
Yes, well, you are. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching and you enjoyed this, please give our video a little like, hit that subscribe button or the notification button to know when the next divorce chat is up. And until then, enjoy. I guess have a good day and enjoy yourselves. Take care.